Wednesday morning, that means it's Picayune Wednesday, and in our studios, we always do, it's the editor of the Picayune, Daniel Clifton's here. Good morning, Daniel.
Hey, morning, everybody. How you doing?
We're doing good this morning. The latest edition of the Picayune out this morning.
What?
Available all over the Highland Lakes. Yeah,
that's right. It is. Yeah, okay, good. Wow.
Yeah, it's Picayune Wednesday, so it's out there. And if you're not getting your copy, listen at the end of the interview, and we'll tell you how to go about doing that. But some good stories in there. I know Kay's going to be interested in this one because she loves the smell and the feel of new books, or a book in general, when she goes to the library. But the libraries are really changing nowadays, and you've got an interesting story about that in this week's edition of the Picayune.
Yeah, Jennifer Fierro looked up, because libraries, we're all used to going to the books. And remember when you were growing up, if you went to the library and your voice raised above this level?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, Jennifer learned that it's not necessarily like that anymore. It's the change in a lot of the school libraries especially have really had to embrace technology. And so she looked at some of the ways that some of the local libraries, the public libraries, and mainly a couple of high school libraries have changed or are trying to adapt, because you still have books,
right?
But there's a move towards some of the your e-books, but also how they're incorporating different technologies. Like Llano's got a very innovative tech aid program where students learn different technical aspects of the library, like the 3D printer. Who knew you'd go to a library and get a 3D printer?
I know. Well, they got to do something with everything that's happening on the internet now. And it's so easy to get access to a book, to read it online. And so this is the way that the libraries are stepping up and doing things like that.
I remember, too, speaking of high school, when you had a paper to do or something like that, you had to go to the library at some point to look up information on whatever you're writing your paper on. Now you go to the internet and can find all you used to be able to find in an encyclopedia is now available on the internet. So it's interesting to see how the libraries have adapted to that.
And the librarians, even in that, still are very research savvy, because there's a lot of stuff on the internet, like you mentioned, that is totally wasted.
Exactly.
Junk.
Yeah.
And so you have to have somebody like some of these librarians have their sort of your guide to saying that's good information. This over here, it's so good.
Are you saying you can't believe everything you read on the internet?
Shockingly, yes.
Oh, no. Well, they are changing libraries around the area, and you can read all about it. The latest edition of the Picayune has those changes in there, so pick it up for that story. Also, although rain is in the forecast, and we've received rain over the winter that we've had so far, but not enough. And the Picayune's got a good story about the possible drought in the area.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe we're still talking about a drought, because like you said, we've had some rain, and it's been wet and
coming
cool.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and even this last year, in some parts of the area, mainly towards the south and southeast, have had a good rainfall year. Unfortunately, it didn't fall in the watershed that feeds the two big lakes, Lake Travis and Lake Buchanan. And so the LC area still is trying to keep everyone on the same page that we're still in a drought. Lake levels are at when we talk about the two lake levels, we're talking about Lake Buchanan, Lake Travis, who hold the water, a lot of the water that supply us drinking and other forms. We're at 34% of their capacity. And if things I think it's the 30% level. If it hits 30% or some certain feet, it actually will be declared the drought of worse than the drought of records, which happened in the 50s.
Yeah, it's really terrible, and you can read all about it in this week's edition of the Picayune. And I love it when I see stories in the Picayune about the kids helping out other kids, and a good story in there about the Marble Falls students and their SOS program.
Yeah, and this is a high school program. It's an anti-substance abuse program, and the thing that really interests me about this is a lot of times you get these these substance and drug abuse programs, and it's because the school says we're doing this, or adults say this. But this one is
somewhere.
Yeah, but this one was student initiated, and that's pretty really cool. So I think that's one of the things that gives it a little more bite.
That's awesome. It's awesome that they're doing that. Read that in this week's edition of the Picayune. A lot of other great stuff in there as well. Have we still got entries in there for the Locals Love Us Award?
Yes, sir. And you go there to get there, and you can go online both at, I think, our KBEY website and the dailytrib.com. But you still can take a good look at the the ballot there in the Picayune.
Yeah.
Don't forget to write in your favorite DJs and your favorite editor.
Yeah, vote and vote often. That's right. All right. Read all about it in this week's edition of the Picayune. It's available today. If you're not getting a copy at your house, tell them how to go about doing that, Daniel.
Well, you call the office at 830-693-7152 and then ask the ladies up front to get you on that name, that list, and we'll get you to it.
All right, sounds good. Daniel Clifton, editor of the Picayune, everybody. And remember, as always, the Picayune is
Free!
Thank you, Daniel. See you next week.
See ya.